Hello and welcome to the Grumpy Old Man Podcast. There are a lot of things with the direction our world is headed that I find reason to complain about. I'm Harvard Schmarbert. I'm not a big media company pretending to be an individual. I really am an individual. Nothing on this podcast is fake or phony except my name. I'm not a doctor or psychologist. I'm just a grumpy old man, and this is Season 1, Episode 8, Weather. I was planning to release a new episode each week, but then I remembered that I'm a grumpy old man, so I'll just release a new episode whenever I feel like it. Make sure your player notifies you so you never miss one. This week I want to talk about weather. Weather itself, weather apps, and weather TV channels. There is basic ridiculousness with all three. There's no arguing that weather, and maybe even the climate in general, has changed since I was a kid. In New Jersey in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even the 90s, we had more snow and bigger snowstorms. Schools had 5 or 6 planned snow days built into the calendar. If a given year needed more or less, that was simply made up in June at the end of the school year. Not anymore. There are no snow days built into school calendars. So if one is needed, it's hyped as the end of the world and completely unexpected or a catastrophe. It's just a snowstorm. I think summers were equally different. There were days in excess of 100 degrees Fahrenheit every summer. The 3 H's, hazy, hot, and humid, were spoken about as a normal occurrence that was just unpleasant and potentially dangerous to some. Pulling weeds in the garden and ending up soaked in sweat was not unusual. Somewhere along the line, normal, routine weather changes became extreme and exaggerated by the media. I remember when only hurricanes were named. Now it seems every storm gets a name. Snowstorms, even little ones. They make a big deal about running out of names and how the climate is so severe. Well, what do you expect? You gobble up all the names with tropical storms or depressions that never get close to landfall. Hurricanes have been making landfall in the U.S. since long before it was discovered. There are more some years and less other years. It's the same now as it was long before you were born. Be safe and aware when one is imminent and you need to take precautions, but ignore the hype. Floods. If you believe what you were told, floods are worse today than they ever were. Have you ever noticed that all the video of floods is in a city where we have paved everything? Earth has been having heavy, inundating rains forever. That's why there are rivers and streams. That's what they do. They take the water away and out to the ocean. So if this is the worst flood ever, it's only because of poor design or planning in our cities. Or, if you listen, the way it is determined to be the worst ever is based on dollar value of the loss. So, with a constant inflation, it's common sense that this is bigger than 30 years ago. Houses were like 1/4 the cost 30 years ago. The same is true about wildfires. Doesn't it seem that every year there's a new biggest fire in history? Inflation again, right? It's the biggest because it caused the most damage in dollars, and because of inflation, dollar isn't what it used to be. Also, keep in mind that most fires are really not naturally caused by lightning or whatever. They are arson. There is double the population of humans on Earth today than when I was born. Twice the people, twice the deranged arsonists. There are other modern causes too that are not natural. Electric power lines. Look what just happened in Hawaii. I've seen a YouTube video that showed an electric generating windmill in Washington state. It burst into flames and then caused hundreds of acres to burn. One final note on fires. Many tree seeds require heat in order to germinate. The redwoods in California, where we hear wildfire news every year, would be extinct if fire didn't help open the cones that contain their seeds. The West is blanketed with national parks and forests. Parks like Yosemite used to clear the underbrush and dead trees to keep the parks from burning. Remove the fuel, reduce the chance of fire. But they learned that removing that fuel did more harm than good. No dead trees, no insects. No insects, no woodpeckers. No fires, no redwoods. So now they leave it natural. And yes, likelihood of fire increases. I guess if we go in historical chronological order, I should talk about TV channels next. We used to get the weather forecast once or twice a day during the evening news. In 5 minutes, you knew if you needed an umbrella tomorrow or not. Kids knew if they were getting a snow day and could go sleigh riding. If dangerous heat was coming, the susceptible could have a plan. The weather doesn't change that fast. Once a day was logical. But somebody thought that a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week weather channel was needed. Really? I don't know about you. I don't know who is actually watching any of these channels. I have turned one on from time to time if something interesting is happening. 30 minutes later, I still haven't gotten my forecast. It'll be sunny 1,000 miles away though, and it feels like I've seen 18 commercials. Not one of those commercials were for anything that I would remotely consider buying. Drugs for a condition I don't have? Magical knives that never go dull? Socks that will make me feel 20 years younger? Sure. Junk food? $200 for non-stick pans that will work well for 3 months but then start sticking? Sadly, many ads prey on the elderly. Ever seen the reporter exaggerating the wind or snow only to spot a person walking across the background? Well, lastly, weather apps on your phone. Skip the popular ones that are made by those TV channels. They are full of ads for the same junk you don't want to buy. Of course, you can pay a monthly subscription to remove those ads. Find a third-party app with decent reviews. Install it and try it. It's free. If you don't like it, uninstall it and try another one. I'll bet you find what you like, not what some corporation wants you to use. In less than a minute, you get the info you need. Why watch some TV for an hour and still not have the info? See you next time when I rant on about the next thing that's stuck in my craw.